Welcome to the Divine Feminines podcast and channel. I'm your host, Steph Desar, and in today's episode, we're talking the 5 spiritual love languages and how you can better understand your love languages and your partner's love languages, even whether it's romantic or not, in whatever connection you're in. This is applicable. So before I get started, don't forget to like and subscribe this channel. This is Divine Feminines on YouTube and all major podcast platforms. And we're also on Instagram and TikTok, and that's Divine Feminines with a Z at the end. Why like and subscribe this channel? Well, we have so much great stuff on mind, body, soul empowerment, how to become a better person, soul growth, aligning to your soul's purpose, balancing your masculine and feminine energy, and so much more great stuff. Also on YouTube, I drop extra bonus content. So if you subscribe also to YouTube, you'll get like moon updates, energy guidance, portals, the shifts that's happening on Earth, and some manifestation techniques and current energies. I don't do personal readings or energy tarot readings individually, but I do it on these bonus videos, and I share channeled messages that I'm receiving from source. So let's get started. I'm going to burn some Palo Santo while I'm here. I've been burning a bit already, but I just thought, yeah, let's do it in this video. Love languages. Love is a frequency, right? It's a 5D frequency. It's one of the most highest vibrational frequencies. It's a way of being. It's a mindset. It's a choice. It's so much more than just, oh, that's love. It's all encompassing, and it deserves attention. It deserves understanding. It deserves to play a key role in our understanding of it and how we give and receive love. So I really want to talk about these 5 love languages, and actually it was developed by a psychologist called Dr. Chapman, who originally did this to help couples better understand each other. And I think that it's still very relevant, and not only is it relevant for couples, but it's actually relevant for friendships, work, companionships, family relationships, anything really where you're connecting with another. Now, obviously, non-romantic, but we still are beings of love. We still are here to give and receive love, right? Love is, the binding force to bring us all together. Love is what, crushes fear, what crushes lack mentality, wars. It crushes everything. It removes all of that low vibrational feeling, emotion, and attitude. So when we choose love, we're choosing, the most highest potential and the highest frequency that we possibly can, along with compassion, of course, as well. So the 5 love languages that I want to talk through, I'm going to talk through them, and you may, as I'm talking through each one, you may go, oh, that one resonates for me, or that one, oh, I didn't really realize that was a love language. And what I want to do is talk through the 5 and give you a flavor of what each of the 5 are, and then also start to help you understand how you can tap into evaluating what your love language is, how you feel when it comes to receiving love, and how you like to give love, because that's really interesting, because the way you like to receive and give love can be very different to others. And if you are not aware of those differences between yourself and another, you could easily give and receive love or do things in a way that is almost sort of biased towards you. And that's where a lot of communication breakdown happens. And a lot of couples, actually, they have a lot of challenges. You guys probably will remember, I've said it a few times, I was married previously and now divorced, much happier, but it wasn't because I gave up and I was like, I can't do this. I did try to do try to work through things, but I can say with hindsight that there was a lack of love language knowing, awareness, and there was a lack of this kind of collectively working together and trying to continually communicate and understand one another. And that's no fault of myself or the other person. Like, I think it was just where we were at in our journey. We just weren't aware, we weren't self-aware. Now when I look back, I'm like, wow, yeah, communication was a really tough thing. We hardly spoke sometimes. You go to work, come back, and I remember I'd just be going to the gym, and then that's it, cook dinner, and then I would just want to zone out and do my own thing, or I'd literally be on my laptop working because I might have had a deadline, and that's it. I just didn't really communicate, or I would feel like he didn't want to really make much of an effort to just engage with me and just talk a bit deeper. And I wanted to, I like that kind of in-depth sort of talk deeper, pick my brains type connection, and I enjoy that. And I think that's what was starting to happen. I was like, wait, this is too sort of surface level. Our conversations are just skirting on the top, and it's just almost like, and it's almost like a routine. Now, a lot of couples will have that, when you're living together, you'll have that. But if that happens and you're starting to feel like, oh, it doesn't mean that you can, you need to give up. It's about work. It really is about work. And it is, and if there's nothing too drastic that has happened, like, everything's still pretty good, but you're just feeling a little bit out in the cold, and you don't really feel like they're understanding you, or they don't, vice versa, whatever it is, because most likely, if you're not feeling understood, they're probably feeling the same, because we're mirroring each other. So understanding love languages is a really great tool. It's a real great toolkit to have. And just understanding them and being aware of them is one thing, but then using them in day-to-day life and committing to, having those challenging conversations, being open and being honest and being authentic really about how you feel is going to help you through. So the different love languages. First one, words of affirmation. I think you get what that is. It's literally being expressive and being vocal and giving praise or giving nice compliments. Like, it doesn't have to be I love you. It can be, you look great today. Oh, I love your hair. Oh, I really like that poem you wrote the other day. Oh, I read it a few times over. Or, oh, I really like what you did with the front room. When you rearranged it, that looks really cool. Or, that new dress that you wore the other night, that looked amazing. Or, I like your haircut. Oh, the new beard that you've got, like, grooming. It's coming together quite nicely, like, even though I was picking on you. Do you know what I mean? Like, those types of words of affirmations. Or, like, oh, you make me feel safe. Or, thanks for listening, I really appreciate it. Or, oh, after a long day at work, just having you by my side just to listen to my nonsense. Thank you. You know what I mean? Like, that is words of affirmation. Now, I'd say a lot of us would like that, but not everyone. Some don't really need to hear words of affirmation. They might not necessarily need to hear it in that way, in a vocal way. I think I like it, I'm giving my own opinion. But I guess when I go through the other love languages, I say to myself, as I'm thinking out loud now, is that probably they're a bit interchangeable. Like, maybe if I'm not getting words of affirmation, but I'm getting acts of service or a physical touch, I feel like, okay, but is that enough? Will that be okay? So as I'm talking through, you might want to write some notes and see how you feel. So, words of affirmation. Question: Do you feel like you need to hear like a compliment every now and again? I think women, we do, don't we? We do like to be told, oh, you look lovely, or your hair looks nice, or I really like what you did, whatever. But equally, men, I'm sure that they like to be told that they look nice. So I think that words of affirmation are a winner all round. I think a lot of us would say that we pretty much would like that being shown to us. And so, as much as we like maybe we might like hearing those words of affirmation, does our partner, does our friend, does our family member like those words of affirmation? You've got to kind of get to know what they like and what kind of makes them feel loved, basically. So the next one is physical touch. It is what it is. I'm not saying start dry humping them on the street. It could be as soft as a cuddle, holding hands, a kiss on the cheek. When you when you wrap your hands, you lock your arms around each other and you kind of do that. It could be, just like little kind of nudges and things like that, or resting your head on their shoulder, or sort of like cozying up on the sofa and just cuddling like that. Those are physical touch examples, and that's also a love language. Again, I'll ask you to ask yourself, does that make sense to me? Am I someone that needs to have some physical touch? Do I like to have physical touch? Does that make me feel loved? Boy, this is another one. I think that most people would want it, but they're not everyone, Some people are very sort of, they don't necessarily need it. They're quite happy to just do that, when they're doing the do. But I think, and some are more like into the physical touch on a regular, but they want to hold and squeeze and cuddle a lot more. You see couples sometimes, they're very public with the kissing and all of that, and they probably do enjoy like being quite overt with their physical touch, but not everyone's the same. So again, ask yourself, what is it that, do you like physical touch? Or when it's being shown to you, do you not like it? Or when words of affirmation are coming up, do you not like it? So there's the two sides of it, because you might be getting shown some of those love languages and actually it makes you want to sort of run a mile, and that might be telling of something that's come up from the past or from childhood, or something that you just had a bad experience with, right? So yeah, that's the second one. It's physical touch. The third one is receiving gifts. So receiving gifts is not necessarily has to be monetary. It doesn't have to be like, oh, here's a couple of $100, or here's a big gift card and whatever. Receiving gifts is how, literally a love language of receiving, and receiving something really nice and a gesture. So it could be like your partner cooks you dinner, or your best friend goes and picks up your favorite latte for you and a donut and brings it over to your house and surprises you, or your friend offers to come over and do all the tidying up because you've been with the kids all day. Whatever it is, in a relationship, it could be, your partner offering to like do some of the extra chores around the house, or helping to make dinner, or it could be an actual gift. Like, it can be the smallest gift. It could be like, oh, I saw that you ran out of I don't know, your favorite tea. And as she says that, she's picking up the tea. I saw you ran out of your favorite tea, the one that's called Sweet Dreams. This is what I've got here. Actually, it's called Sweetest Dreams. It's really nice. And I thought, oh, I saw that. So while I was out in town, I picked a box up. Oh, that's really cute, isn't it? I think that's my love language. Buy me some tea that I've run out of. Anyway, for those that are listening, if you want to know which one's my love language. Digression. So again, are you a person that likes to receive gifts? Is it something that you feel makes you feel loved? On the contrary, when you do receive gifts, actually does it make you feel some type of way? Are you willing to do that for others? Do you, consistently think about, oh, does my partner, my friend, or my family member, do they feel like, are they someone that would appreciate me, helping out or doing something, or picking up their favorite tea or whatever it is, or picking up a box of fresh fruit or something and dropping it off as they're getting some for themselves, and they knew that I didn't have the time to do it, whatever it is, right? So that is the third one. That is receiving gifts. The next one is acts of service. So being of help, and this is a bit like the kind of maybe just overlap there a bit, but actually just doing things to help the other one out, and just being an assistant, being an assist to help with anything. It could be chores around the house, it could be running an errand, it could be just getting some stuff done, and just being of service to the other. And yeah, it can seem like it's a gift. You might be like, oh, Steph, that sounds a bit like it's a gift. But the difference is the act of service is like, okay, I'm going to give up some of my time, and I'm going to, spend some time helping you out and getting some stuff done that would make you, you know, you kind of make your life easier. What can I do that will help you, or learning a bit around, where I know that you're struggling, like in terms of like, oh, you've got a big garden and you always like never get time to sort it out. Why don't I come over, and while you're doing what you're doing that Saturday, I can like help sort out the garden. At least it saves you money from booking a really expensive gardener. I don't know, it could be anything like that. Or, oh, do you know what? You need to go take those bits to the dry cleaners. Well, I'm going to go take mine. I'll grab yours as well. I'll grab the shopping while I'm out, I'll grab those bits that you needed for work. That kind of acts of service, So ask yourself, are you someone that kind of likes that? Do you like the sort of helping hand and the helping to, I don't know, like, I'll help you paint that new bedroom or whatever, or rather than getting the builder in, like, let me do it, whatever it is. Or, let me help build this new bed that you bought. So, and I'm saying these things that isn't like, you might be like, oh, well, Steph, that sounds like a man, like a woman asking a man to be of service. But the other way around, a woman can suggest to a man, oh, I'll help grab the shopping, or I'll help with this or that, or let me make your day a bit easier because I know you've got a lot on, right? Or you're traveling, and I can go grab some of those bits that you needed for your trip. So that is the fourth love language, and that is acts of service. So ask yourself, are you someone that, likes to have that sort of support and this sort of your partner to kind of be of service, of help to you? Does that make you feel loved? Does that make you feel recognized? Okay. And then the last one is quality time. And I think, to be honest, this is, I feel like a lot of them are necessary, but for some of you might feel like only a couple really matter to you the most. But quality time, I mean, if you're in a relationship particularly, so when I speak about romantic relationship, you do need that time together. It's really important. You can get into the mundane and into your day-to-day and into these routines, and then you just kind of don't have that quality time where you're really just catching up and just picking each other's brains and getting to know each other more and going a bit more deeper. And even if it's a friend or family member, I was reading an article not long ago that had some stats and data around the time you spend with family, and it was showing it diminishes over time. With friends, it diminishes over time. With work, you spend a lot of time at work. And with yourself, it grows over time, which is a good thing. And with your partner, you spend a lot of time with them. So there is a point there that, you don't spend as much time with your friends or family. And so family, you have to make time for that. And with friends, making sure that you've got the right ones in your life, and then spending that time with them and prioritizing some time there is important, right? So yeah, quality time is what it is. If it's in a relationship, it's really just making sure you put some time aside. And I don't want to sound so like organized in this, or like creating a schedule, but it's good to say, you sit down with your partner and go, oh, we might have a date night every so often, and why don't we do this where we can just chill and hang out, and it's not just like being in a routine. So whatever your dynamic is with your person, whether you're living together or you're living separately, and then working out what a dynamic is. But first and foremost, you need to understand if that is something that you find important, that makes you feel loved. I definitely am a person that would like quality time. I know that I was in a situation before, where I felt like, wait a minute, I'm not even spending time with this person. What is this about? Why am I with them? And that I did not feel loved. So I can say that one out loud. And I'm sure a lot of you be like, yeah, Steph, can't be dealing with no one that's not got no time for me. But you have to communicate it as well. So it's something that we have to take responsibility and accountability for. But how do we start understanding these love languages and understanding the love languages that matter to us? Well, first and foremost, we have to understand the love languages in relation to us. So how do we feel like we want to be loved? What does that mean? And when you go through the five, ask yourself, does it make you cringe? Does it make you feel angry? Do you feel like, no, that's exactly what I'd like to feel? If it makes you cringe or feel angry, there's something there connected to something from childhood, most likely, and how your parents showed you love. So I'll come on to that in a bit. So first, it's about putting in the work on yourself. It's always about understanding ourselves first, right? Taking that accountability for who we are, how we feel, and what makes us really tick. No one else is going to be able to know about what makes us tick until we actually figure that out. And then we've got to take ownership to sort of communicate that as well. So once you've done that, then you're in a better position to go, okay, this is who I am. This is how I like to receive love. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's how your partner likes to receive love, right? So then, start to think about, what they potentially prefer, in terms of feeling love. And this may need a series of conversations. You have to be able to communicate these things. What is it that you like? What makes you feel loved? Do you like, this or that? And then, you actually ask rather than assuming. The thing is unfortunately, a lot of relationships get a bit like unwavering because the assumption is just sort of benevolently there under the surface. So each person will just do what they think the other person likes, but it's mainly a projection of what they like or what their sort of ideology is. They've not really have checked in with the other person to make sure that person likes those things. I definitely used to be a very big sort of gifter, and that was a love language that my dad used to do because he wasn't one of words of affirmation, but it was more of a gesture and gifts. And I definitely took that on board, but I realised that I remember one ex said to me, I didn't really need the big lavish gift. I just wanted a hug. And I was like, really? I didn't think he wanted a hug. I thought he was liking those gifts. He's a big ass man. But that was my opinion. He actually wanted a hug. Bless his heart. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. So you can easily just have complete oversight over things that, you're just going by your own perception. But it's not about your perception. It's about how do they really want to be loved and what matters to them. So you do need to have that communication with them. And I always believe that it's important to set time aside regularly to communicate from a place of really trying to find more healthier, cooperative ways of navigating your relationship and getting to know each other better and becoming stronger as a team ultimately, right? The other things that I'd say is in terms of understanding love languages and yours and your partner's is definitely consider how you felt when you were a child. How were you shown love by your parents? Ask yourself that. It's something you could journal. How were you shown love by your parents? And how did that make you feel? And based on you understanding what love language is, how you like to be loved, then ask yourself, did I receive that from my parents though? So some of you, for example, you'd like words of affirmation. Freaking heck, I never got words of affirmation. This is probably why I like it now. But I did from my mum, not so much from my dad. My dad was very like reverse psychology type man. And he still swears to this day that that was a better way to just get me to be successful and be who I am. He did well. I mean, I am very successful, but I wasn't able to really, the whole love side of stuff, I was a little bit too, I don't know. I've got a big heart, but I was a bit too sort of hiding behind my emotions and just doing the big gifts. And that was probably because I picked up that from dad, right? But exactly that. So understand where, your parents were showing you love and how that made you feel. Does that make you feel like you're loved? Or what was it you would have liked? And then that's going to make you realize where the gaps are, because sometimes, we are looking for our partner to sort of fill in gaps that were missing from our parents, and that's not fair, that's not right. So what we need to do is really address it in a more healthier way and understand what is it that we genuinely would like, and how do we want to be loved, and what makes us feel loved, and then navigate from there and just be authentic about that. Likewise, your partner may have very similar, or I think every person will have their experiences with their parents. That your relationship with your parents is the first sort of, they say with the daughter and her dad, it's like her first relationship, her first love for a man, and the boy and his mom, the son and the mom, it's like the first love for a woman. So that is going to, and so that's why those relationships, daughter and father, can be very arduous or challenging to relationships later down the line, because what you don't realize, if you don't heal those wounds with your father, that they then project into your relationships. And likewise, son and mother, but it can be even with, myself and my mother or whatever, but it's usually the opposite sex. It's usually that, because that's where we start to understand that masculine energy, or the dominant masculine energy, or whether it's the dominant feminine energy, and what that really feels like to us. And then that gives us a perception, an ideology, and then we work off that basis. That's kind of like our foundational level of learning. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's right as well, right? But it's our first experience and our first awareness to these things. And then that's how we that gives us our sort of basis of our compass as we move on. And a lot of what I talk about on these podcast episodes is how we kind of almost go back to things and go, that doesn't sit quite right with me. I'm really doing the self-awareness piece, and I'm taking accountability for the energy I create and who I am, and I want to become better. So that's another one. Also, make sure you don't get carried away with, like these love languages, doing the work. It's about doing the work. It's not about just going and taking that person to a fancy dinner, or buying them a really nice ring, or taking them on a really luxurious trip to the other side of the world, in a nice 5-star hotel. That's all good and well, but that's not going to solve for it. You really need to do the work. You really need to communicate. And this is ultimately it. If you want to be in a relationship with someone, and at the beginning all relationships are fun and whatever, and then they have those moments where it's like, oh, and why does it have to ever be like that? They call it the honeymoon period, and then it gets into this kind of like same, but it doesn't have to always be like that. You can ensure that there's a rhythm and a good healthy dance between the two of you, but you've got to keep working together and taking that accountability. So that's important. And go a bit deeper as well. Go under the surface of things. Don't be afraid to sort of ask yourself some difficult questions. By doing this exercise, and I hope by listening to this episode, it's going to give you some good food for thought. Now, some of you may be in relationships and you're like, right, okay, I'm going to practice it with this person. Some of you might not be in a relationship. It doesn't mean that you can't still do this. It's good, actually. It's great prep work, and it's a great level setting for you to understand how you want to be loved, so that when you do start to sort of meet eligible contenders, which I like to call them, or, a potential prospect, you're able to go into those conversations. And if it does, develop, you're able to really show up and be authentic and honest about who you are and how you like to be loved, how you love to be loved. So, yeah, I hope that helps. And I hope that this is good food for thought. I love to do another episode on love languages and the barriers and the blocks that can come up when trying to express those love languages in a dynamic as a couple. So stay tuned for that. But I am going to love you and leave you. And I'm sending you peace, love, light, and abundance. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye, Soul Tribe.